Bill Anderson, you pitched a story, a lot of controversy about a former police officer who admitted to killing his wife. He is now out of prison, and the victim's family is up in arms and very upset. What do you got?
They are. In 2006, former Millville Sergeant Robert Vanaman shot and killed his wife, Barb. He then cut his own arms to try to convince people that he shot her in self-defense. None of these facts are disputed. It was all admitted as part of a plea bargain. After the plea bargain and subsequent appeal, he was sentenced in 2009 to 6 years in prison for passion, provocation, manslaughter is what they called it, and tampering with evidence. After 5 years, last week, he walked out of a halfway house a free man. So I went to Millville, spent some time with Barb's family. They say that Robert, who shot her, was treated differently because he was a police officer, and ultimately their daughter's life is being ignored.
You go out and rob a bank and don't kill anybody, you're going to get more than 5 years. You embezzle a company, you can go away for 30 years. So, in other words, a human being's life is worth less than money. And I just feel he needed to do more time for what he did.
As Robert was released, social media blew up with questions about how someone who admitted to killing their wife could only do 5 years.
From the beginning, we had heard he could get up to 30 years. And then a second meeting we had, it suddenly dropped to 15 years. And it wasn't until the day that the plea bargain started to be put into place that we found out that our opinion basically didn't really mean anything.
To make matters worse for the family, they still live in the same town as Robert. So they told me that they will regularly have to run into him and see him. To them, it's a constant reminder of the fact that their daughter and sister's life was only worth 5 years.
Every time I see him, I will see my daughter laying on the floor dying. Every time I see that man's face.
Now, we reached out to both the judge and the prosecutor. Neither were immediately available, but in published reports, the judge said that this was probably a case where he wished there was not a plea bargain on the table. His hands were actually tied by the limits of that plea bargain.
Maybe it had nothing to do with him being a cop, and maybe it has everything to do with the fact that our system is just broken. We've got our prisons and our courts clogged with all of these small crimes. You know, we talk about marijuana an awful lot here and about how much time this clogs the court system. I wonder if that whole system needs to be revisited.
But based on everyone's opinion, they had a really strong case. It was just a prosecutor who decided to cut their losses.
Does this ex-cop have to deal regularly with the parents of the victim over the children? Does he have visitation?
One of his family members has custody of the children. So they're not supposed to have direct contact, but because the children are involved, their paths cross quite a bit.